Well, I have a very disorganized mind, so I have to present a text, and I apologize. It's not so. It's kind of a one-way mode of communication when you're reading something, but that's what I'm going to do. And the other thing I would say is I guess I also am taking this opportunity to be kind of the fly in the ointment in a way, which is maybe my customary mode of operating, which means that I guess I'm going to bring up some problematics around the idea of relocation, not in a programmatic sense of addressing the project, but on a more theoretical level. And that's what I'm going to talk about. Okay. Or what I'm going to read, to be more precise. So I want to pull together some disparate information in my response to the search for a perfect location, and I hope you will help me to connect the dots between the material I bring forward and the proposition before us tonight. Listed in no specific order, I want to talk tonight about use, disuse, the productivity of crisis, surfing, skateboarding, the concept of heterotopias, and Alfredo Yar. Let's start off with a quote by Michel Foucault on heterotopias, which even after 20 years is still pertinent. I believe, he wrote, that the anxiety of our era has to do fundamentally with space, no doubt a great deal more than with time. Time probably appears to us only as one of the various distributive operations that are possible for the elements that are spread out in space. We do not live inside a void that could be colored with diverse shades of light. We live inside a set of relations that delineate sites which are irreducible to one another and are absolutely not superimposable on one another. What does it mean socially to displace a set of functions from one location to another, to refunction a place from one use to another, or to appropriate marginal disuse space? What are the implications and what are the drawbacks and the advantages, especially in a society like Germany, marked at once by the dissolution of the social welfare system, a gross, regionally determined disparity between prosperity and impoverishment, and with regards to Berlin, an abundance of underutilized or abandoned space. I'm going to approach these questions from my own geographic context, which is Southern California. Venice, California, was originally developed around the turn of the last century as a kind of vacation amusement community, which featured, hence its name, waterways created to drain marshland, making it suitable for development, and an example of the kind of pre-postmodern pastiche sensibility for which Los Angeles is notably famous. The area was developed rapidly with all sorts of entertainment amenities and deteriorated at an equally rapid pace because urban infrastructure was not maintained or improved over time. Several oceanfront amusement parks built on piers were constructed over a space of 60 years, one of which, Pacific Ocean Park, had an especially rapid demise, not dissimilar to the fate of the Spree Park. I've excerpted the following from Wikipedia and kind of changed it around a bit. Quote, for a decade, Venice hosted the Pacific Ocean Park, otherwise known as POP, an amusement and pleasure pier built atop the old Lick Pier and Ocean Park Pier by CBS and the Los Angeles Turf Club, which also owned the Santa Anita racetrack. Opened in July 1958, POP kept the pier's old roller coaster, huge airplane ride, and carousel, but converted its theaters and small pier buildings into sea-themed rides and space-themed attractions designed by Hollywood special effects people. Since attendance at the Seaside Park was too low to operate during the winter, and there was competition from other regional amusement venues, it was sold after 2 seasons to a succession of owners who let the park deteriorate. Santa Monica was also redeveloping the surrounding area for high-rise apartments and condos, making it difficult for patrons to access the park, which went bankrupt in 1967. After the park suffered a series of arson fires, its rotting structure was completely demolished by 1974. In its latter period, the park was a popular place for illicit nocturnal exploration, and in light of this function, one could describe it as a signature example of a heterotopia, which Foucault defines as something like a counter-site, a kind of effectively enacted utopia in which the real sites, all the other real sites that can be found within a culture, are simultaneously represented, contested, and inverted. In the POP, you have a typically American indifference to maintenance, and this is my response to what you could find in the Pacific Ocean Park as an example of heterotopia. You have a typically American indifference to maintenance, rapid speculation, an example of cyclical economic expansion followed by contraction, and finally the propensity for demolishing the outmoded, which has scarcely had the time to become obsolete. Some of you may be familiar with the documentary Dogtown and Z-Boys from 2001, which traces the reemergence of Southern California skateboard culture in the mid-70s. Dogtown signified the area immediately adjacent to Pacific Ocean Park, which in the 70s was still known as a slum by the sea. The Z-Boys were members of the Zephyr skateboard team, many of whom came from the area and who developed the kind of trickboarding that's popular today. The Z-Boys were also surfers who used the breaks off the remains of Pacific Ocean Park, complete with dangerous pilings jutting out of the water, to surf, a refunctioning of a site that had been radically changed by urban and financial crisis. When the surf wasn't good, the Z-Boys would skateboard, and in the mid-70s, when California was suffering a severe drought, one of their favorite things to do was trespass into drained backyard swimming pools in West Los Angeles, using the pool coping to practice aerial maneuvers. A second example of reuse derived from crisis conditions. These two instances of geographic bricolage, productive uses of neglected peripheral sites, give some example of the creative potential that crisis as such can engender. But I want to remind us all that I don't think the positive and negative effects of crisis can necessarily be parsed from each other. Okay, so my last point, which is related but is geographically distant from that, is this. In the year 2000, Alfredo Jahr was invited by the Swedish town of Skoghall, a large company town organized around a paper mill, to do a project in public space. His response was to build a Kunsthal out of paper and wood from the mill, organizing an exhibition and opening on the following day, burning down the structure. The community first pleaded with Jahr to leave the structure intact, and when he refused, asked him to at least let them use the material to construct a children's playground on the site. A request he also refused. Jahr has said that his intention was to reveal the absence of organized cultural activity in the town, and he could not do this either by allowing the structure to remain or for its materials to be recycled. It was necessary for the destruction to be rapid, complete, and spectacular in order to make his point. In some ways, Delbrugge and de Maule's proposition is a kind of inversion of Jahr's. Instead of revealing what is lacking, they are asking us to ponder what we would miss if the Battanian were to evacuate its present site. As the Flying Burrito Brothers once sang, and here's the second Southern California pop reference for the evening, you don't miss your water till your well runs dry.